Right.
Hello.
This meeting is being recorded.
This meeting is being recorded. Does anyone else hear that when I press play?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jack, is that a new little feat? Little
Yeah, what the fuck's that?
Oh.
How are you getting that?
How are you doing?
Reactions, no?
It's on the background. So I got to have a bit of a tint so I look more tan. That's fine, isn't it?
For people who are just listening
So
to the audio,
that's
Jack
how you've
had
been
some
doing it.
filters on.
Hey, it's not going to do anything for yours. You're fucking in the pitch back anyway.
How was everyone?
True.
Jack, how was your little weekend? You've had a pretty busy day, haven't you, traveling back and forth?
I actually got back in really good time though. Put me like three and a bit hours, so not bad at all.
It's probably a little bit quieter in the Saturday afternoon.
Oh, it was dead. It was the best. Oh, Caitlin, that's fantastic.
I'm in outer space.
She's on top of the world.
I'm on top of the world.
You're out of this world.
Right. We need to stop it there.
That's gonna get me in trouble. That'll get me in trouble. Actually,
will.
I was gonna say that. That's
believe
putting
it
you
or
right
not.
down.
Believe it or not, she actually watches this shit. So
I have to edit that bit out then. Fuck you know.
Nah.
I had the pleasure of meeting Poppy the other week. Oh my god, that back offset, we ruined her.
She's a.
Oh,
Jack.
Jack chose for everybody.
Oh no, I was gonna say I thought it was
Jack
me at
Frost.
first. No, it's
No.
Jack.
No.
Fuck him.
Fuck's sake.
Anyway, we'll move
What
on.
is
To
that
that. We'll
face?
come back. I ain't got a clue what's going on there. Khifie, mate, I just wanted to get something up quickly if I can.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Oh, he's back.
I am back.
You're back. Khifie, can we just talk about this? This is fucking
it's
ridiculous,
ridiculous.
mate. Absolutely ridiculous.
See, like, I mean, I actually thought I was gonna get more, but I went in. We try obviously, like, because we've got to travel to Durham. Like, obviously we get there and just basically straight away train. So when I got there, I was like, see, from sitting in the car and that, usually I'm fine, but then when I got there, I was like feeling like, I never realized until I got to like my 3 plates or something like that, and I felt like bloated and that, and it was like, I put my belt on for 4 plates, and see, put my belt on. Do you know that way when you put your belt on?
Yeah. You still here? What's going on?
I don't know. It was just, I mean, it felt okay, but I realistically have to like maybe like 15.
Do you attribute that to the fact that you had to travel and drive quite far?
Yeah, I think really just I think it was just really down to that. I wasn't on the move enough beforehand,
Yeah.
so I was literally on that, like, on during the day. Obviously, I was just sitting. Realistically, I wasn't doing much moving about. Obviously, I was just working, and then we literally just drove straight to the gym. And I think it was just maybe down to that. I never gave my digestion enough time to actually work and process. And by the time I got to the gym, it was really too late. But we are eventually moving, and I unfortunately the tenancy finishes here in like 2 weeks. We've got to like February, but just need out. And we couldn't. The plan was to go to Rotherham. Couldn't find anywhere really within the time that we had. Like, there was fucking so much happening, and we were traveling the opposite way, so everything was going back to Scotland, and there was no time to fucking travel further down, kind of thing. So we're looking. There was nowhere, couldn't find anywhere. So it was a case of, well, the tenancy's still coming up here. We're not signing on another fucking 6 months, so we need to go. So then it was like spontaneous as fuck. We just went, well, why don't we just go to Durham? Until then, if we go to Durham, it takes a lot of stress off. I can prep out of like Ultraflex as well. Do you know what I mean? It's got all the stuff that I need and more. And then it means it takes a lot of stress off looking for somewhere in Rotherham. Do you know what I mean? And obviously gives us plenty of time to look for somewhere in Rotherham. So that's what's happening. I've kind of like kept quiet about it and that, because I don't really feel as if it's a massive thing kind of thing. I'm at the point now where I need to be somewhere that's got suitable equipment for what I need. And don't get me wrong, like the gym that I'm at now does have that, but there's just some, there's obviously I'm just looking more so down the lines of machines and things like that, and different environments, just kind of maybe being surrounded by a few more bodybuilders and that. It's just smaller things like that. But we eventually got somewhere, and it was spontaneous as hell. Literally decided, right, why did we look for places in Durham? Went online, found places, and fucking went and viewed them the next day. And there was one place that we had seen that was decent, and we were lucky enough to get it. So that's all happening next week. So
Why can't it be like that for us?
Yeah.
mate, well, that's literally what I'm saying though. There was nothing coming up around Rotherham or anywhere, because if that's what we were looking for there as well, do you know what I mean? And the unfortunate part was, if we kept looking and looking and looking and we gave it more time to look, we would have had to sign on here again for longer, and there was no fucking chance that was going to happen. So it was a case of just having to maybe do the next best thing, do you know what I mean? And that's obviously what we had to do. But I mean, obviously I'm assuming you'll know Durham anyway. It's got near enough
Fantastic.
the same stuff as Rotherham, and Ant is getting a lot of new kit in as well, like as they keep going. So it's good because it's a place that they keep reinvesting into it, and the kit is just so much better. Do you know what I mean? So
Got a few clients at Durham as well, and they've just got the gym shop pull down, same as sort of one. They've just got that in. I think they've got new leg press in. I think they got the CYBEX pivot. Leg press, I think, as well. They've got a few other bits in there. Khifie, I was going to ask you just a quick question, and I'll share the screen again. With your hacks, obviously, I posted, I think it was on my YouTube video the other day, me doing the CYBEX hack, and someone mentioned about my heels coming off the platform, and I noticed when you was performing it as well that your heels were coming off. When I do that, I really notice it, like, just hits my lower back like nobody's business. Are you okay doing that? Like, do you have any problems because obviously you can see your heels coming off quite a fair bit here. But it seems like it's moving obviously quite nicely. If I did that, my lower back would be absolutely smoked by the end of it. And for some reason, I don't know if anyone else is the same here, but when I do the CYBEX hack, I struggle, because obviously I try and keep my feet as low as I can without my heels coming off. But it's so hard for my heels not to come off, regardless of my sort of foot placement. Do you have any problems with doing this, or do you feel in your lower back at all?
Well, this was one of the first things that obviously I like when I got it filmed and never watched it until like I'd got home, and this was like one of the first things that I noticed, and I was like, surely that like can't be right. Like surely my heels coming off shouldn't be right. But then it's like I feel as if it was very off, I would have noticed it in the set or in the session. I would have carried over fatigue in the session from it being off, but I was actually okay with it. I looked then back at my set. I think it's literally like a couple of videos down of 5 plates that I'd done last week. And the thing was that kind of done me was, I don't think my heels come off as much, which I then started to kind of think about my feet positioning. Maybe my feet was maybe not necessarily down or up a little bit more. See, they do come off a little bit, but not anywhere near as much as what they did with 5.5. I mean, I don't know. It still felt all good for me. The only thing especially with the CYBEX, like, don't get me wrong, I love moving weight, but at the same time, I don't want I'll never let it get carried away to the point where if I'm not taking anything, say I could go up to 6 plates, right? And my heels will come off even more and even more and even more, but I'm moving 6 plates. I don't want it to be like that. I want to be able to know that I am going to obviously be able to execute them well enough, that I am going to get enough like direct work on where I want it to be. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, I potentially might do 5.5 plates again and just try and keep my heels down. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, well, it never affected my set. I never took any major lower back pain. I felt it where I needed to feel it. Because if I don't feel something where I need to feel it, I will stop the set. I will not just carry on, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously not a movement that's, you know what I mean, like conventional deadlifts where you can just fucking grip and rip kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Especially on like a CYBEX hack, it's a case of more so you're very much locked in it. You don't have much really room to kind of be able to just fuck about in it. But it's I don't know. I probably I will do 5.5 again just to see what it's like. But I don't really have a problem myself. I've watched a few people do like hacks and even like there was a couple of videos I remember that AJ had posted and his heels were coming off a little bit, but he got called out on that quite a bit, but at the same time he was still able to take a lot from that what he needed to, like that never really affected him too much. But I don't know.
Jack, you had a little play on the CYBEX today, I saw. Do you have any problems with like heels coming off the platform at all? Or?
Oh, I think it's quite often ankle flexibility.
Yeah.
So, and I know, Keith, obviously you touched upon that you've been sat in the car for quite a while. Yeah. I know ankle mobility isn't something that seizes up that quickly, but potentially, you know, hips were tight. That could all affect how the ability of your knees to flex down, and maybe that was slightly off, which led to it. So because it's all a chain, isn't it? So maybe that could potentially have been something. But no, George, for me, maybe it's because my calves are shit, so there's no they're not tight at all. But my ankle flexibility has always been pretty good, so no such issues. I actually really enjoyed it today. Here's Caitlin on there as well. See,
Caitlin, from what I can see, I think your heels look, your feet are very low on the platform as well.
Yeah. Like when we went into this, I knew that I couldn't find the blocks. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the girls.
Yeah.
The blocks, because basically we just bottom out. No matter how low. You what? Sorry.
Because you can't re-rack it. Basically.
Well, no, just because we bottom out, like we go all the way down to the bottom, and it doesn't look like full depth, right? Even if we got all the way down to the bottom. But I just put my feet as physically low as possible, and I got on all right with it. To be fair, like I think it definitely helped that we did a more continuous set prior to a heavier set. Just so I got used to the movement, to be honest with you, because I've not hit the CYBEX in a while. It was actually this morning, I think, whenever AJ woke up, because he goes to bed pretty early, he sent me Khifie's CYBEX, and he was like, I fancy a go at the Mark 1, but we were like, should we travel an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, with deadlifts and CYBEX in the same session? So it was that sort of, you know, is it actually worth going all that way? Because I don't know if you've tried the version 2 and the version 1, but I prefer the version 1, to be honest with you.
From my experience,
there aren't many places that have it, are there?
No, not all.
From my experience with the version 1 versus the version 2, the version 2, the mid range is very like sticky. Don't know, it just feels very heavy in the mid range, whereas the V1 is very, it's a little bit smoother. Yeah. Is it what brand of hack is this? Is this Precore or?
So it's a Chinese knockoff, but it's very similar to the Precore, but it's actually nicer. Like the only way that I can describe this hack is a mixture between the Atlantis and the CYBEX. So you've got the Atlantis, which is like almost horizontal. You've got the CYBEX, which is almost vertical. This is literally right in the middle. And I think that's why me and AJ like it so much, because it's like all quad, but equally, you know, it's challenging.
Yeah, I've used the Precore one a few times, and I've noticed the range of motion is just not great on it. Like I always hit the bottom, regardless of where.
Yeah. So
I don't really get on with it.
Yeah, it is pretty hard, but then for that reason, I just put my feet right at the bottom, and just make sure I control the tempo.
Can we talk about this quickly? This is fucking nuts. Is that just a standard bar, or was that the deadlift bar?
No, it's a standard bar, that one.
It's fucking hell.
That's insane.
182.
What's that?
When you go into 180?
We'll see. I'm going to do 160 tomorrow, and I think I've got, well, looking at that, I definitely should have got 6 last time. So if I can get 7 tomorrow, I'll be very happy. And then once I've got 160 for 7, I'll probably try 170. So hopefully, where are we now? January. End of March, beginning of April, I'm going to say.
That's fucking nice. For anyone who's listening to the audio, we're just watching Caitlin pull 160 for a set of 5 here, which is pretty fucking crazy.
I wasn't actually going to go into the session and do 160 because I'd done like 150 for 8 the week before. I was going to do 155, but then I thought, what would Khifie do? So I was like, right, fuck it.
I even had that today myself.
We got deadlifts tomorrow.
Say again, Khifie.
We got deadlifts tomorrow.
Were you aiming to pull tomorrow?
Fuck knows. No,
I love that. You just go into it, just fuck knows. That's what I did today. I went into it. I was actually sharing the deadlift bar, and the guy that I was he's actually coached by AJ. He was doing 190, and I was thinking, like, it's my first time deadlifting this year. I've just come back from COVID. I'm about 5 pounds down. I was thinking, should I go in to do? I was like, I'm not going to do 190.
You can't think like that.
I'm not going to do 190, but I was like, you know what? Feeling pretty good today. And I think we spoke about this a while back, a couple of podcasts ago. I said, sometimes I just like to go in and just fucking train and just enjoy it. And even though, like, yeah, I got 3 reps and it just felt, I afterwards, I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I just sometimes think, you know what, when it's there, when you're having a bit of fun, just fucking do it. And I'll probably next time do 190 and probably get a good 5 or 6, just because I've just decided to jump up 5-10 kilos. Has anyone else had that where they've been a little bit apprehensive on, you know, increasing the weight, but then all of a sudden they add like 10 kilos to it, and the previous progress has been like 2.5 kilos, maybe 1.25 kilos, whatever, and all of a sudden you add 10 kilos to it and you just get better, and all of a sudden you've just like jumped 5-10 kilos or so, and now that's your top set. Sometimes I think it's all up here.
Oh god, yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest things that holds people back from maybe doing, or holds people back from actually like applying a lot of new muscle to their physique, just because they do not necessarily hold themselves back, but they only add the tiniest of progressions and like tiniest of weights onto bars. And don't get me wrong, like that's perfect, like you are still progressing, but at the same time, how do you know that your potential's not a lot further than where you're working? Do you know what I mean? And as much as you're still going to very much stimulate with using that weight for X amount of reps, you could be doing something. You could be doing that 20 kilo heavier and maybe taking that little bit extra from it. Do you know what I mean? It's hard because it's like you've always got that fear of execution as well. But I mean, you're never really going to know until you're there. And if you keep holding yourself back from going there and only adding on your little 2.5s or 5s, which again you're still going to fucking take really good progression from, then you're never really going to know, are you? Do you know what I mean? Until like a session like that today where you loaded 190, like if you had said to yourself about doing 190 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, you would have probably said, fuck no, I'm not doing 190. Do you know what I mean? But there you've put 190 on the bar, you took a triple and a very good triple. Do you know what I mean? It was very tight, like your execution was fucking like spot on, like you stayed fucking tight the whole set, it was locked in the whole set. So I mean, why can't you add reps to that now? Do you know what I mean?
I sometimes think I control my eccentrics like too much, like to the point where it takes away, like realistically, if I just kind of maybe speed it up a little bit, I probably could have got 5 just for a bit of momentum with sort of maybe a tap and go stance. But I don't know why, it's just something that I think from just getting injured in previously, like I sprained my lumbar spine apparently, and it caused a lot of pain. So now I'm like overly sort of cautious with my eccentrics, and I sometimes think that I'm probably doing too much to the point where I'm wasting so much energy just controlling it for what? Like, could I make better progress speeding that eccentric up, or do I just play it safe and just continue doing what I have been doing because, you know, it keeps me injury free? I'm not sure. I don't know, but I'm making sure I get 200 by the end of the off season. I've got 8 to 10 weeks before prep starts. I haven't actually announced my prep, but I'll announce on here because this will come up before my next video. But I will be starting prep on the 28th of March. So that puts me about 20 weeks out from my first show, which at first, when I spoke to AJ about it, I was a little bit like, fuck, that's not long enough. That's not long enough. But then AJ goes, okay, when did you look your best in 2019? And I was like, 6-7 weeks out from my first show. He's like, well, there you go then. So for me, it's just a little bit like, I'm going into my first show, probably not going to be 100%, because I came into my first show in 2019 faded, you know, I was declining. But this time around, I'm going to have the attitude of going into it and seeing where I'm at, obviously bring a good look, but knowing that I'm aiming obviously for the finals, so I'm going to bring a better package. I've never done that before. I've just slowly declined throughout my sort of preps. So I'm going to be aiming for the UK DFBA Northern and the BNBF Northerns as well. I think I've got a good.
I'll come watch then if you're in the Northerns.
Yeah, I'm going to do the Northern because I'll be up there.
Where is it? Manchester.
I did. Yeah, in
It was this year, wasn't it?
the UK DFBA Northerns is in Manchester. I think it's Hayward. Is it called Hayward?
Oh yeah.
Hayward, yeah. And I know that show is ran really, really well. The venue is pretty good. I haven't done the UK, I haven't done the BNBF Northern before, so that should be pretty exciting. So yeah, give myself 20 weeks to get, and I know how my body changes. Like I've realized, like me now, like it's fucking hard to get fat. Like I'm pushing 5,000 calories nearly on a training day, and there's no way in hell like my weight gains quickly. It's very slow. Obviously, there are other things taken into consideration, but my body changes very quickly. Like I've realized that I'm sort of genetically, I'm quite a lean person. My body likes to be lean. And, you know, this is the furthest that I've had to try and push my body fat and my body weight. And it's fucking hard. Like, I don't get how people get fucking crazy obese because I can't fucking do that for shit. Despite
Dan Bastick spoke about that once. I don't know if you ever remembered that. And he was like, it's actually physically hard for people like us to get like obese. Like it actually is, like to be generally publicly obese. It's like, and the thing is, like, if you think about it as well, you're going to do a 20-week diet. You're probably going to be like to the point where you're almost, you know, shredded at that point. It only takes 20 weeks to do that, whereas it takes so much longer to actually grow.
Yeah,
it's mad.
Crazy. So yeah, I'm excited about that, but also I'm a little bit like, do I have enough time? I'm always thinking that in the back of my head. But I'm just going to trust the process. I've told AJ, look, AJ, you're going to take all the reins. You're going to do my training. Last time I did obviously a macro diet, and I just basically created like a meal plan out of that. But this time round, I'm just going to get AJ to put me on a meal plan instead. And I'm just going to follow it because I got to a point, the first 10 weeks of my prep in 2019 were easy. I followed it. I wasn't really suffering to an extent. But then I started adding in those sort of 10 cal jellies towards the end. And then that's where it went all tits up, and then baking powder in my oats, and then weighing out a kilo of water in my oats, just having watery oats. It's in a big fucking mixing bowl as well. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'll just let AJ take over the reins for that. And I'm just going to follow it, just become robotic and listen to what he says and try and not do too much in the gym like I did last time. It's going to bite me on the ass. Jack, have you announced or you decided when you're starting?
Well, I think it's going to be a similar sort of structure to you, I think. I think I'm probably going to target the Northerns just because they're the final few shows, aren't they? So if I want to, like, I'd want to do as many shows as I could. But if I want to do well, it makes more sense for me to sort of peak towards the end of the season, you know? Like I've always done the Welsh being down here, but obviously I'm not going to be this year. But like it's exactly the same situation as you. If I want to do well at finals, providing I qualify, it makes more sense to do a later qualifier. So to be honest, I'll probably be doing the same show as you. I'll definitely be doing a couple of the Northerns. Then prep and 20 weeks. I've said a 20-week prep should be plenty anyway. So
yeah,
essentially we're starting on prep on the same day, really. So
I'm really looking forward to that then, because we're going to be both the same. If we're doing the same shows, we'll be fucking going together. You know, everything will be like, yeah, I'll look forward to that. It'll be fucking class. Khifie, when you start in prep, do you know?
Not got a clue. When I'm going to see Vicky in what, like 2 or 3 weeks, 6th February or start of February anyway. Going across, so obviously she'll be able to kind of see how fat I am, and she'll really just decide whenever we start off. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much similar to you guys. We done the plan was 24 weeks, 26 weeks. That was like enough time, obviously, by the end of that, we'd started to obviously put food back up. So we're going to do the finals, which I believe will fall like end of September. And then the Worlds, which is 4 or 5 weeks after that. So I mean, I think that'll probably include that. That'll probably be like the whole prep, or obviously depending if we do like say X 20, 22, 23, don't know, weeks to the Britain, and then obviously after that it'll just be a case of maybe either putting food back up as we go towards the Worlds, or totally depend if I'm still fat or not. But obviously I really, my goal, like I would love to, as much as obviously the Grand Prix is going to be my biggest one, because it's going to be busy this year. There's going to be a lot of people doing it, and I know there's a lot of people doing it, and especially the likes of like Dave and that. Dave's going to be doing it, and so it's going to be very big for like. I know that's where I would really like to come in 110% and be fucking nailed for that day and see where I fall there. But at the same time, my last thing to box off is Pro World Champ. So if I can also be 110% at the World, then fucking great, because then I'm obviously going to see where I fall, do you know what I mean, and try and get Pro World Champ status there, and then obviously that'll be like the kind of big thing, like last and kind of main thing ticked off of, like, anyway. But it's hard, because obviously I'm really looking forward to the Grand Prix this year, just because it's going to be busy and I am going to be able to see where I fall as a pro. But at the same time, I am putting fucking absolutely everything into this off season to make sure that I don't look out of place against the likes of Dave and that. So it's, do you know what I mean? Like, it's a hard one, but I don't know. Goodness knows. Obviously, like I said, I'll see Vicky in the next couple of weeks, and she'll be able to kind of be like, that's when we're going to begin. And then obviously she'll send food and that over to me, and that'll be it. Because like, I'm the same. It's just meal plan, really from start to finish. There's no really, food never changes or anything. So
no.
Yeah.
I often find that staying like contest prep lean, I think the longest you can stay there and look good for is probably, I'd say max probably like 4 weeks before you start going downhill. That's what I noticed. I was like 4 weeks where I just looked really good, and then all of a sudden you sort of just start like fading. It just doesn't, the detail just doesn't look as crisp, and it's just like this firm of like water over your physique, especially in the abs. Like the abs are typically the ones that are typically the area that starts like almost kind of wash out sort of look, where they just don't look as detailed and as crisp as what you were. And it's hard because, you know, I always want to bring my best at every show, like especially the first show. You want to come in at, you know, your best, but you need to realize, like, if you have these big goals now, you know, you need to play it smart. And, you know, like you said, you want to come in good shape, but, you know, if you want to do very well and overall bring a very good package towards the end, then sometimes you need to come in maybe a couple of pounds off your best, and then you've got that extra 4, maybe 6 weeks to the finals, for example, to dig a little bit deeper and bring your best package. So yeah, it's something that I'm having to definitely learn moving forward, because, you know, I'm so used to, well, I was used to prepping for such a long time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see kind of how the body changes and where my scale weight will also lie as well. AJ sort of predicted that I'll be, because my lowest in 2019 was, as bad as it is, 144 pounds. And obviously my weight cap off is 154 pounds. So I still got 10 pounds of wiggle room. And I'd probably predict my best sort of look was around 148, I reckon. So if I can try, kind of push towards that 150, 152, you know, I'll be happy with, you know, in 2 years, maybe a good, at least 5 pounds of muscle on top of, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I never look at that. I never look at that. I just try and wherever I fall, I just fall in terms of scale weight. But I know from where I am right now, I need to pull off 30 pounds to get into that, because there's no way I'll be a middleweight. You know, I'll get absolutely crunched. Especially in the BNBF is a weight category, isn't it? I think it's 154 pounds. And then now the UK DFBA is height category, so you get put into a height category. So I think obviously I'll be in short class, but I don't know if they judge that on the day or not, whether, you know, how many people are there.
Yeah,
and they'll go, you're in the 5, I think, like under, I think short class under 5'7". I'm not sure how they work it, because they do it a little bit differently now, don't they, compared to a few years back.
George, that's another topic for you. What do you think about the announcement of classic physique in the UK DFBA?
Yeah, so funny enough, like I watched a few qualifiers last year and obviously went to the finals, And me and actually Khifie spoke about this on Instagram because Khifie messaged me, and I remember you saying everyone's fucking classic. Because you remember when I was, because everyone was doing the posing routines and everyone was just listening to like sort of Viking sort of music, sort of the classic sort of poses. And Khifie was like to me, "Where's just being a fucking bodybuilder?" And I was like, "Right, you're too right there, mate. Like, where's the bodybuilding in it and like the mass monsters?" And for me, like, the only reason I say this is because I'm not a classic bodybuilder at all. I have no classic sort of flow to my physique to one bit. So I'm more towards bodybuilding. But the thing that worries me with that is that going to start taking away from the actual open sort of bodybuilding classes now that classics involved? Because a lot of youngsters now, I've noticed, are all, especially between like the age of like 16 up to like 22, for example, everyone loves the classic look now, the classic physique. And I'm worried that that's going to start taking away from the open sort of bodybuilding. That's why I said on my Instagram story, it'll be interesting to see kind of what it's like this year.
Everybody just wants to be fucking C-bum.
Yeah.
My only issue with it is this is natural bodybuilding. There are no mass monsters. So like what essentially the natural bodybuilders look more classic anyway, just because they have more like less muscle. They're not like blown out through any like gear usage, etc. So, you know, but to be fair, like George, I was with you at a few of the shows last year. There were a fair few people that really did suit that classic look. I remember potentially at one of the Southern, I think it was a Southern show we went to, one of the lads doing juniors had a hell of a shape and he would have done very well in the classic. But like you said, I've got a feeling it well, without a doubt, it'll water down the sort of open, but I don't know whether they're planning on letting people do both. I don't know whether they've discussed that yet or not.
I don't know, because I remember one of the juniors last year, he competed in men's physique. I think it was at the show. He had long slick back hair. He competed in men's physique, and he also competed in juniors. So they might allow it. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be more appealing to people to want to compete, because you know classic bodybuilding or classic divisions are becoming more and more popular. I don't think it'll ever overtake, like, especially like the Olympia and stuff like that. I don't think it'll ever overtake the big boys, but I certainly would say that from what I've seen so far, and especially like some of the qualifiers in 2019, even in the short class last year, you know, there's like 1, 2, maybe 3 people, and I'm worried that that's going to take away, because I don't want to be stepping on stage and it's just me and I win my fucking class and then I post on Instagram, I came first place, I came first out first, there's only fucking one person there, it's me. You know, I don't like that. Like my first show in 2019, there's 3 of us. Remember Josh Bailey, the one with the really good abs? It was me, him, and some other guy that he wasn't quite in shape. So I knew it's just either me or Josh. And I was thinking, like, fuck's sake, what's this? Is this what it's going to be like? Just 2 of us going head to head. You know, I went to the UK DFBA Southerns, and that was the juniors was one of the stacked lineup I've ever seen. Like, you was there, Jack. I remember because obviously you had Harrison. He was coaching Harrison. That was a big fucking lineup, and I came 3rd or 4th in that show, and I was happy with that placing because there was more people in it, and it was a fucking battle.
And it makes more of a day of it as well.
Yeah,
you know, more time on stage, more of a battle, as opposed to there's 2 or 3 of you, and like you said, you basically knew already that you'd beaten the person who wasn't quite in shape. Yeah, and you know it's just the 2 of you, and I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I'd rather that, you know, I'd rather be, you know, I remember, I think we did 4 or 5 rounds. I was absolutely fucked. I've never had calf cramp like that in my life, especially when you use the special ingredients or pre-workout ingredient from Jack Thorburn. Yeah, that's a secret. But yeah, I was they worked me, but I came off stage and I was more satisfied finishing 3rd or 4th. I can't remember. I think it was joint 3rd or whatever. Rather than coming 2nd, and you know it was a battle between the 2. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that sort of works out. I think they brought another, was it over 35s? Is it some other division?
And then they've also brought in junior women's figure.
What?
And masters over. Sorry, I'll just share the screen here. I've actually got it up from the. Where is it? I think it's this post here, wasn't it? They mentioned. So it is classic physique, and also Masters over 35 division.
Oh no, this was BMBF. They've also introduced new categories as well. BMBF have.
Okay.
Yeah.
BMBF. Oh yeah, sorry. I remember seeing that. BMBF. Oh, you can see all my searches.
Go on, boy.
On. Not that I type in is it, oh yeah, here it is. Sorry. Yeah, I saw this. So it's body new classes, men's what
Keith, what's that?
Do you know anything about that, Khifie?
Men's athletic.
So men's athletic and junior figure under 23.
Yeah. So is the men's athletic going to be like?
Yeah, men's athletics like it's like the like I don't know how to describe their trunks. They're like
not
they're like
no.
It's pretty much, you know, like muscle model. Do you know like the muscle model?
Said, yeah, muscle model.
Yeah, aye.
Athletic.
It's what they used to have at PCA.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not coming up, is it?
No, it won't come up.
No, but I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like these. Is it like? I know they're not obviously like those, but like
they're a little bit smaller and like swim trunks.
I'm going to try and find the guy that used to do muscle model. He's called like Pav or something.
Yeah, it's like sort of Miami Pro sort of look.
What about like Tom Coleman used to do it, didn't he? Do you remember Tom?
Tom did it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I
know Tom Coleman or Pav Sava. He's the most recent.
I know Pav. Yeah.
Tom Coleman.
Yeah, but Tom's got an insane shape. So
yeah, look, it's like it's like this. If you can see that.
Yeah.
But the natty version, so like scaled times like divided by 5.
Yeah, although I don't even know what that is. Yeah, so it would be interesting to see kind of how well these divisions do.
I'm sure they implemented the athletic class because they run it at the Worlds, but they've never had, like the BMBF itself never had it as like a
representative.
Yeah. So, but obviously, like throughout at the Worlds, they get like quite a bit of like attraction. So
he's fucking class, this guy as well. I remember I competed in the same year, 2019. He was fucking awesome.
He's competing this year, Keith, isn't he?
I don't know if Gene's going to compete again this year. He just took his pro card last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was fucking class. I remember even last year he was fucking awesome as well. Some good improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck me. Yeah, cool. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I wonder how that will sort of plan out, really. I'm hoping it won't take away from bodybuilding, especially the classic route. But yeah, it will be interesting.
Just makes the day even longer though.
Oh yeah. Remember I went to the UK DFB at Heart of England, and that was ridiculous. Like I looked, there was over 120 competitors in that show, and that was a long old day. I remember that one, and even the finals was a long time because they had to go for the men's physique and stuff like that. That was fucking ages. CAITILIN, how's it been training with AJ this week? You've been training with him pretty frequently, I'm guessing, because obviously the Loz situation.
Yeah.
So how's that been? Obviously, I've trained with AJ a few times before, and it's always that sort of sixth gear. I always find that sixth gear with him, and he pushes you. It's just something different. I don't know. It's very like, don't get me wrong. My training of mine's always been very, very good, but when I train with AJ, like all of a sudden I'm connecting things with better. I'm just finding that sixth gear. How's it been?
Yeah. So obviously we were doing our Sunday session anyway because we're on the same split. And me, Loz, and AJ, we all we'll have a little chat pre-workout, and then as soon as we're in the session, we just sort of do it. Like we just like nod at each other, like don't even really talk too much, just get on with it. Never had a bad session. And obviously Loz is in like recovery for about 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. And it just sort of made sense, really. Obviously, he's doing my training and stuff, and I think he just likes my gym as well, because it's basically to ourselves. We'll go in, we'll put on the music, and it's almost like instead of having to worry about anything, we just go in and sort of gone back to our roots of just going in and training for why we want to do it, which is because we love it. you know, we'll do like a top set, and we'll nail execution and form, and then we might do a back off set where we just go until you can't feel a body part. Like it's all come at the sort of right time as well. We've done our post-show recovery phase or whatever, got blood work done, everything's all in order, and now it's like we can add a bit more volume, we can recover better, you know. So basically for the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to be a case of trying to kill each other off, as far as I'm aware. Like volume's been increased a bit, we've got rest pauses, you know, on a leg day, the leg press set, whatever I do, AJ has to double with the same amount of weight, sort of thing. Like it's just a lot of fun, and like you say, it's that six gear, you know. Training on your own, you'll always put as much in as possible, but I genuinely think that them like forced reps or just someone being there to scream in your ear, it definitely does make a difference. Like every single session I've come out feeling utterly just fucked, to be honest with you, but like a good fucked.
Yeah, it's been like I've even enjoyed when I think AJ posted his top set on the hack and you were spotting him, and at the end of the fucking set he gave him a clap and that. I love all that shit. I think that's fucking class. Like
yeah, to be fair, I probably get into the sets a little bit too much, but yeah,
nah, no you don't. rep one. Oh yes.
Oh
no, that is the universal sign that.
Oh yes.
If you know, but the thing is though, if you don't hear that oh yes, then you're in trouble.
I'm baffled on why you don't have merch out yet that's got just oh yes on it.
Oh yeah.
I need to get that dog.
No, you need to get your body on stage with the Churchill dog on your head.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's Churchill, isn't it?
Oh,
yes.
That'll be my coaching logo. I haven't got one yet. I'll get one of them. Oh yes.
Fuck's sake. Right, should we answer some questions? I've got a few questions here from last time and just some few others. I completely forgot to put a question box up, but
shit! Guess what I've forgotten to do?
What's
forgot
that?
to write the timestamps.
Oh shit! Was that your?
Said I was going to do it in all dinner. Oh no!
I've got a rest day tomorrow, and
one bloody job, Caitlin. One bloody job.
The funny thing is, Caitlin's had the pen in her hand the whole time, and
I've just been holding the pen.
And she's just been meant to write down, but no.
Okay, so
I had the intention.
Fuck, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'm going to make an effort to put timestamps. Sorry if everyone's listening or watching this. I haven't done it.
Is it actually a frequently requested thing?
Yes, honestly, you go on every single YouTube comment, there is someone putting time. Like, I don't see the problem with it. Like for me, I just watch it or listen to it. It doesn't bother me. But obviously, people want to. I can get why
someone put the analogy. It's like chapters of a book. Yeah, you'll have a look at what the chapters are, but you'll still read it all anyway.
Yeah. So I promise you'll have timestamps in this one. I've got a rest day tomorrow. I'll make sure that I won't listen to it all, but I'll skim through it and think, oh shit, this when we did this, when we did that. So if the timings are off by like 5 seconds, don't have a go at me, please. I try my absolute best, I promise you. Right, so some questions. So first one is like thoughts on carb cycling during a massing phase. I guess I typically do this on a train day and a rest day as it is. Yeah. Like my rest day food is probably 200-300 carb less than what it is on a train day. So I kind of do this already, but if anyone else has got like an input, feel free to go ahead and
No, I literally just have the training day, non-training day.
Yeah, we all, I think we all do it to a degree. There's definitely merit in doing it. I think, George, you may have even noticed it yourself that as soon as you drop carbs to a decent degree on rest day, not all the time, it doesn't always hinder recovery, but then in terms of your ability to sort of utilize the food on the training day goes up a lot more. You don't feel quite as sluggish. It certainly gives your digestion a break on that day. And then it also allows you to have, because if you want to balance the calories out a little bit more, it also allows you to have higher fats on that day. So in terms of like metabolic flexibility and your ability to use fats and carbs as an energy source, there's definitely merit in that. And it also, like, it's very popular at the moment for people, especially with like more enhanced athletes. It's quite common that they go super low fat and very high carb. So potentially they are missing out on the benefits of certain fat sources in terms of like hormonal function, etc. So like brain health even. So having that rest day where fats are significantly higher, definitely it has benefit in providing those essential fatty acids as well.
Yeah, for sure. On that note, what I do with my clients is I try and push their train day food as far as I possibly can before adding like rest day to the rest day, because 99% of the time, for most people, the ability for them to keep pushing is their appetite. Most people go into a mini cut because their appetite and they can't push any further. Obviously, body composition, things like that, but majority of it is down to the appetite as well. So unless they are dropping weight on a rest day with the sheer difference between a train day and rest day food, then yeah, obviously I'll add in some, or they notice, for example, the day after the rest day, the performance suffers because the food is lower, then yeah, I'll add in obviously food. But I try and say, right, try and push your train day food as far as you can. Use that rest day as an opportunity to give yourself a bit of a break from eating the sheer amount of food that you need to do on a train day, to make sure your appetite's in a good check. And then obviously once you start exhausting that training day, then start adding into the rest day. That's typically how I would do it. Keith, you got anything to add to that? Any thoughts on do you do that at all at the moment?
There's not really much different. Like, don't get me wrong, like I don't eat the same amount of food every single day, but I have seen where there's been a few days, like potentially things like deadlift days or days where I'll do legs and I'll barbell squat and that I may have a little bit more food on them days, just like over normal than what I would have on something like a chest or a shoulder day. So it doesn't really dictate kind of my training days and non-training days. It more so really dictates maybe what I'm training on them days and whether I feel I maybe need a little bit more food or I might not need a little bit more food. I think just because I am a little bit maybe more laid back with my food choices and things like that throughout my off season, and obviously that sometimes that can dictate how much I take in and how much I don't. But I've seen sometimes that it has been like up and down throughout just different days, and I know that even when I diet as well, when I diet I get more food on specific days and that. So it's just, that's really the way it's kind of always been. And I think because that got implemented during prep, I've just kind of kept that in throughout off season, that some days, like on my bigger days, I will take in that bit more food and it seems to be utilized to what I need it to be. And then on my days that I'm just going to be doing like chest or shoulders or something down that lines, then I will maybe have a little bit less food in them days and I'm still getting the same benefit out of it. So
yeah. Without going into things too much as well, like just because you're in a surplus doesn't mean that on certain days you can't be dropping fat as well. So there's always a balancing act going on. You can be dropping fat at certain times of the day, but you're still in a surplus for that day. So you can still tighten up in periods of the day, but then when you need to push the growth in terms of like around training, you can. So you can, like, if you want to sort of try and stay leaner in a massing phase, if you're not really trying to push the envelope, you can use those rest days as potentially like almost like a fat loss phase. It's not going to hinder your overall sort of progression. It probably won't be, you won't gain weight as quickly, which may ultimately hinder it, but you can use that rest day to potentially like tighten up and then on your training days push food even more. But you probably wouldn't want to do that, but it does prevent you from getting too sloppy though.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, like talking about fats, I think anything over like 20 grams in one meal, I feel fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I don't go above, I try and keep now on a rest day, I try and keep around about sort of 10 grams of fat in each meal. I'd rather push the carbs more on a rest day now than the actual fats, even though, you know, sometimes I understand like insulin sensitivity and, you know, having a little bit of a, you know, sometimes I used to on my rest days run similar to you, Jack, like protein fats for like the first like 4. I remember back in the day, you used to run like protein fats until the last meal, especially in like a mini cut phase. You probably still do that now. I've done that in the past, but for me, like I'd rather push the carbs now. Like for me, especially when my insensitivity is down a bit now, I don't really get that sort of spike when especially on a rest day. It's nothing worse than having shit ton of carbs and all of a sudden like, right, I'm ready, I've got all this energy, but I'm not trained today. I don't have that effect anymore, but I rather push the carbs more now than the fats, because the fats make me feel like shit if I have too many. It just slows me down. Yeah, I think we've answered that pretty well. Tips for beating sugar cravings whilst aiming for a fat loss. So I'm guessing he just means in a diet, like just how to beat sugar cravings.
CAITILIN, you're the most recent prepper. How did you curb your sweet tooth during prep?
Just wanted to win dinner.
Yeah.
No, like as much as that is going to sound like a dickhead, like I assume this person's asking, and they're not doing like a bodybuilding prep. In that case, it's going to be a different answer because I'm not going to be a dickhead. But if you're asking and you're doing a prep, just honestly just get over it. Like if you can like detach yourself from food. Like I remember I told a couple of girls, like I think I told Ella that on her first ever prep, I said, look, you've just got to remove that emotional attachment to food now if you're going to want to be a bodybuilder for the next sort of 5-10 years, because it's such a massive thing, and like you just got to get rid of it one way or another. I don't know, like don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that I don't have food focus, and doesn't mean that I don't like food. Like I'm a massive foodie, but when it comes to it, you've just got to be able to remove that attachment, in my opinion anyway.
I think like you said, like how important do your goals mean to you, regardless of whether stepping on stage or not? Just like if you have a goal that you want to achieve, like if it means a lot to you and you want to make a change in your life, then you will do that. You will stick to the plan regardless. I would say also as well, and I think I highlighted upon this a few podcasts ago, like, and I've seen Khifie do this in his preps as well, just make your fucking diets boring and bland. Like don't start adding in little things to make you, you know, trigger. Like even I spoke about with whey proteins, you know, I used to have some really crazy wacky flavors, and it just made things 10 times worse. So sticking to a very boring bland diet where you don't have that sort of urge to eat off plan, you just stick to what you know. And I've seen, like I said, I've seen Khifie, especially in your contest preps, you know, oats, I see you have a lot of potato as well, that sort of stuff. I think, you know, very basic, very bland stuff does the job for me, and I just stick to that.
Yeah, that was like probably one of the.
Go on, sorry, Keith. Go on.
That was probably like the biggest thing for me, because obviously, like everybody knows, kind of throughout my off season and that, I eat a lot of food, and I eat a lot of food that's absolutely not optimal for dieting. But at the same time, when it's like time to kind of so-called flick the switch and move across to the diet side of things, it's literally just like I'm not even taking in anything like cereal or anything like that. There's not like even that chance of getting, like George says, like that little trigger point, because I feel as if I dieted and then was able to implement something down the lines of even something like cereal or that, I feel as if that would increase my food focus so much more. Do you know what I mean? And you don't really get that chance, because when you're dieting on very bland foods, they bland foods become really nice foods. Do you know what I mean? Especially once you start getting to that point where you're pretty deep in, and obviously it does become quite hard. You do start to, obviously you maybe, I feel as if like, I never went as far as obviously like the baking powder and that, but I did always start to try and volumize things a little bit more. I was cutting my potatoes into different shapes to see if I could make them fucking bigger. And it's weird things like that. But it's like the foods become the foods that you look forward to. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're dieting on a variety of different foods, you've got that variety of different tastes and things like that coming in as well. And it's hard because then you could take in like fucking 100 grams of Cocoa Pops, but then that could instantly trigger like a chocolate craving. Do you know what I mean? It's smaller things like that. Whereas I would do that. Like if I got the chance 2-3 years ago, I would have done that. But because I was put straight onto a meal plan, and it was literally just oats for meal one, and then sweet potato for the rest of the day, like I wouldn't really go anywhere else now. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I will diet on. And when it's time to diet on that, I will do that. But again, it's like my shows got cancelled in my prep, and even like they got cancelled fucking 2 days out, 1 day out on the last one. And I was seeing so many people drop out because they were like, fuck, I can't diet any longer. And they were going straight for pizza and sweets and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Just because in their head they were there and it was time to go and eat. Whereas going back to the kind of thing what Caitlin said, with obviously a game without being a dick, how bad do you want it? Do you want it to just sack off all them and keep pushing? Do you know what I mean? It's hard. Again, that's obviously down to contest prep, but I mean, obviously lifestyle people that are maybe going through a fat loss phase is a little bit different. You can have a little bit of leeway with food, but at the same time, how bad do you want to maximize your results as a lifestyle client as well? Do you know what I mean? You do want to keep sociable and all that kind of shit, but it's just like there's a few ways about it, really.
On that note, what's one meal that everyone has in their prep that they wouldn't even dare have in their off season right now? Me, protein oats. No way in hell would I make oats. I couldn't think, like, thinking about oats right now. Just Jack, this is why, you know, I don't know how you do it, because you eat, your appetite is, I know you're a big foodie, but you have had oats for fucking years, mate. And for me,
I still have the same sort of love for oats now as I do in prep.
Is it that sort of emotional attachment? Like, just you having is it attachment? Like, sort of, when I was on prep, like even my bowl now, I use the same bowl. I've got emotional attachment to a pre-workout bowl that I have had it for the past 3 years now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it. It's like some sort of emotional attachment I've got to it. Is that the same with like food, certain foods, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's also, this links into the question as well. Like, I don't really eat chocolate, even though I absolutely love chocolate. I know I've just recently added dark chocolate into the diet. I'm a massive chocoholic, so I use that meal, the oatmeal, as a time to get my like sugar fix and chocolate fix, because I always will pick a chocolate protein powder normally, or at least a really sweet one. Yeah. So that's where if I was to give some context and add to that question, I'd say, you know, with the technology we've got these days, you can make, for example, you could use fat-free Greek yogurt with a chocolate protein powder and mix that in. You put that in the freezer for half an hour, you've basically got chocolate ice cream. It near enough tastes exactly like a chocolate ice cream. So you can use things like that, but it's like you said, does that then set off a craving for actual ice cream? Whereas that you need to work out whether you are at that stage where you can have these things and enjoy them and then nip it in the bud. Because obviously for myself and for everyone else on here, we can. But and a lot of that comes to experience as well. Now I can tell you, when it comes to prep, not even when it comes to prep, this is year round, I would not go a gram under or over anything. And
people take the piss out of you still weighing your lettuce and shit.
And people can say it all they want, and I'm just like, well, why does it matter? Like, I'm weighing it anyway, so I'm gonna do. And yeah, like, I think one of the quotes that stuck with me, when I was first getting ready to do my first show, I was dying down. I was listening to Jordan Peters on an interview, and this was way back, so this was probably like 2015, and he said if someone told him to eat dirt to get into shape, he'd do it. And I heard that, and I was like a jumped up kid at the time, and I was like, you know what, I can do that. Yeah. I was like, I ain't gonna fuck up anything. So and then that's kind of just stuck then. But that's what I thrive on. I think that's what a lot of people like us do. You know, the fact that we can stick to it. I can't imagine how hard bodybuilding and prepping would be if I was massively food focused and like thinking, oh, I could sneak a bit of peanut butter in here on top. It's like, that must be really hard. But the easy part for me is the fact that it's so easy for me to not do that, you know?
Yeah.
It's that massively fine balance. This is what Jack has. The fact that on prep, you'll just do whatever regardless, but equally, your appetite isn't a limiting factor in a growing phase.
No.
Like, a lot of the time people are one or the other, but the fact that you can eat isn't going to limit you there. But the fact that as soon as it's sort of prep, it's like, right, okay, this is how it's going to be. You know, I think if you've got both of them, then the world's your oyster, really, isn't it?
I hated being a chubby kid at the time, but it's done me the world of good now. So.
Yeah.
Caitlin, what's your one meal that you would have in prep that you never have in your off season?
I'd eat all of them still. my appetite is still mad. It's still mad at 14 weeks post show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd eat it all still.
Right. Next question is, I think Jack, I want you to answer this first because I think this would relate to you a little bit. Because how to deal with a bad session, doing way less reps, super poor mindset, muscle connections, etc. How do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, you need to assess why it's happened. I think that would be the first thing. So, has it been through lack of sleep? Has it been through lack of, say, nutrition, hydration leading into the session? So you need to narrow that down. Is it from that? Is it from a stressor? Have you got something going on in life? Because then once you realize that, you can kind of say, oh, okay, it was just because of that. You can rectify that going into the next session. Because the one thing you don't want to do is have one shit session, then cascade into multiple shit sessions. So shit sessions. So yeah, basically nipping it in the bud as quickly as you can. So realize why it happened. And then it ultimately just comes to writing it off. You know, it's happened now. What you need to do is just make sure whatever the reasons were, it just doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with me. If I have a bad session, it's the mentality going into the next session. You kind of have the nerves and there's the pressure on, like, for you, or it happened last time, so could it happen again today? But then you need to go into it just thinking, no, it was a one-off. You can do it. You've done it so many times before. Just do your thing. So,
and today's a new day. You know.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I'm talking as if I don't struggle big time with this, and I do. I can tell you now, I struggle massively with it. Like, if I string together 2 bad sessions, I'm going into that 3rd session shitting myself, thinking, like, if you butcher this one, it's all downhill from here. Like being completely open, 2 weeks ago when I was up north, I trained for 3 days up there. By the 2nd day, I was genuinely thinking, going into a session, thinking I can't even train today. Like, I can't get anything from it. What's the point, you know? And then near enough 3 days later, I felt on top of the world. So it's just not getting too hung up on it and getting in a rut about it.
Khifie, do you ever have bad sessions?
Yeah, I definitely do. And even, like, I don't obviously logbook or anything like that. So, I mean, realistically, I can't really compare it to a last session, but it doesn't mean that I won't go in and that session won't really go to plan. I've more so kind of had the worse off sessions on equipment that I'm not used to. And obviously that's a bit more understandable because I'm not using it every single session, but I find that I tend to beat myself up on sessions that I'm using kit that I'm not used to. Not that I expect it to be a really good session, but I do expect to get something from it. And if I don't get anything from it, like especially something like deadlifts, for example, obviously I'm going to be a bit fucked off with deadlifts, but it did get to a point, obviously, because I never really had access to equipment and things. I was traveling a lot just to deadlift, so I could get used to obviously like good equipment and that. And some sessions were good, some sessions were bad, and I found that I did kind of take it a bit out of my. I wouldn't really be like pissed off or anything going into the next sessions or anything like that, but it would more so beat me up that day because I feel as if I put myself under a lot of pressure to perform very well. And by very well, like in terms of strength levels and things like that, I expect them to be high most of the time. Do you know what I mean? Not necessarily 1 rep max high, but 4 or 5 rep max high. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just been things like that. But recently, like, there's been quite a few off sessions, but it's just really been down to fucking being freezing and training and things like that. It's not been like down to, right, I've not been able to perform. I've been 5 reps down from what I'd done last week, and I expected to do more this week on like a bigger move. It's just been really down to that. But I think I have had a lot of bad sessions, but I think as well, because of me not logbooking, and obviously I auto-regulate if I'm in the session, and I'll be like, right, okay, that's feeling fucking horrendous, so I'll just pull that there. Like, that's how grown up throughout training, I always used to do that, especially when I trained in the leisure centre. It was a case of we would start something, and if it felt horrendous, we would just move on to something else. Like, it wouldn't be a case of ride that out and right, we'll just do one more set and then we'll move on. it would be a case of like fucking wipe that out, leave it and move on to the next. But again, that's just because I don't logbook. I don't have any pressure to do that specific movement on that day. Like I do have my staples that I will include in every single session, but and even again, they don't always go to plan, but I don't know. I do it. Bad sessions happen, like regardless whether you track or whether you don't track. Bad sessions are always going to happen. It's just really how you kind of deal with them. And again, it's a case of like what Jack says, like give yourself fucking half an hour, deal with it, write it off and move on, just get on. But again, that's very hard because it's obviously it's not just as easy as just writing it off for everybody. It's
I agree on that.
I think one of the big issues is the recent obsession with logbooks as well. Don't get me wrong, they are very useful, but I think the second people miss a number, they'll disregard the whole session. You know?
Oh, mate, the amount of time I've did the first exercise, the first set, and I'm one rep down, and I'm already dictating how my session will go, and I've still got another 12, maybe 15 sets to do, and that one set, that very first set, I'm like, well, this is going to be fucking shit then. I've had it so many times before. And to be fair, I mean, I don't ever really have any bad sessions anymore. The only time I really have bad sessions, and I must admit, like, is when I'm traveling. Like recently, when I travel up to Ultraflex, like it takes me about 2.5 hours from my house. I have such a routine with my pre-workout meal, what I watch, when I travel, when I make my post-workout meal, my supplements, my intra-workout. I have such a routine that recently, every time I've gone to Ultraflex and I've had to travel, my routine's been very different. The sessions have just not been like as focused as much. So for me, I'm a sucker for like a route. I like my peri-workout routine. It's got to be on point. If that's not on point, I know something might happen in that session. So yeah, I think on that note, I think my advice on that is just, you know, there's always another day. You know, the gym's always going to be there, and you do have good days, you do have bad days. That's a part of life, just with everything in life, you know. Caitlin, do you have any bad sessions at all? I'm guessing.
I'll have the odd bad session. I mean, to be fair, since I finished prep, I've probably had one or two out of the God knows how many sessions I've had. And I think that's just because my routine and everything is like, it's so much more nailed now. Like if you track as many variables and you nail as much as possible, there's very little chance that you'll actually have a shit session. And then I think that almost makes it more hurtful when you do, because it's like, but I've not actually done anything wrong here. And the only reason that I've had a couple of bad sessions is it's been with my shoulder dumbbell press recently. My right arm is absolutely fine. Like it could probably do another 2 reps and my left arm will just cave in, like just randomly. And it's one of them where it's like, I'm probably going to have to work in a higher rep range, because the weight that I'm lifting, like, it's more than me, like on my joints and stuff. I think my joints are a limiting factor. Like I'm not a big person, so it's one of them. But in general, like, I don't know about you, but my pull and leg sessions rarely ever are bad. But my push sessions, like when you get to sort of peak strength and then you're trying to get stronger from there, that's when I sometimes have a bad session if I don't get more reps or whatever.
Yeah, I must admit, I agree with that. I think my push sessions at the moment seem to be struggling more with those than my leg days and my pull days. I think it's just because obviously they're smaller muscle groups and the rate of progression is slower.
Yeah, of course. We want to see a progression every single week, but it's such a small muscle group that, you know, something like a deadlift, you're probably going to be able to add a rep or 5 kilos every week, you know, on a hack. If you strategically add weight, you're going to be able to keep progressing loads and loads and loads and loads. But on them pressing moves, it's maybe gonna, you know, you'll be going sort of very linear, and then it'll sort of level off. And when it levels off, we almost think, why are we not progressing as well? But we probably are, just, you know, it does stop.
I agree on that. I think, yeah, I'll leave it there. Jamie asked, someone offered you 20 million to stop social media bodybuilding and just live quiet, would you?
Yeah.
20 million.
Yeah.
Or what? Do you not have to train anymore?
Yeah, no, quit bodybuilding, live quiet, quit social media.
Nah.
See, I'm in the same boat as Jack. Like 20 million, yeah, it's great, but I like what I do at the moment. You know, I don't.
People ask that, and I say, if I was that interested in money, I would not be pursuing natural bodybuilding, would I? Think if I invested the amount of effort I do into natural bodybuilding into business, fucking hell. Like, so obviously I'm not interested in that. Well, I am interested in it, but it's not a priority. So, like, for me, no, I wouldn't take it.
See, I wouldn't know what
to do. I thought you said that it was just come off social media for 20 million.
It's stop social media, bodybuilding, and just live quiet.
But
oh, fuck that,
what it's not saying is, what is not right. So we've got to take into consideration we're getting given 20 million here.
Yeah.
We're not getting given 20 million for it to sit in front of us and us to just look at it. We've got 20 million to spend. So who's to say that we can't spend that on kit to get delivered to the house? We can train quietly.
There's no loopholes here, mate. There's no loopholes.
They're fucking it. Well, again, fuck the lot of yous, I'm taking it.
See, I don't know what I would do with 20 million myself, because even when I do get, I'm sure we've all been in this position before where we like sit here and think, oh, like, I'd love to buy that. I'd love to buy this. But does anyone, when they do get that money and they're allowed to spend it and probably could buy that thing that they wanted, you don't. I get protective.
I don't spend my money ever.
No, I'm like, I don't want to spend my money. I'm too scared to spend that sort of money. But you sit there and you desire, like right now.
I don't spend money.
Fucking hell. So yeah, I very much doubt I would take the 20 million, because I wouldn't know what to do with it, if I'm honest. It's just too much. Yeah, you can invest it, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even pay money to turn the lights on, so.
But then it also says, and be quiet. So
yeah. Live a quiet life.
You have to live quietly about it as well. So
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take it. I love my life how it is. Opinions on PANATTA kit. Has anyone used PANATTA much?
I'm not a massive fan, if I'm honest. The gym I was at for about a year was basically essentially fully kitted out with it.
Why is that though? What
some of the kit's quite nice. The pressing kit is very smooth. That's nice. But then just some of the back, specifically like the chest supported row, that's just awful. I don't know, it's almost like too cushiony as well. All the kit is got like fabricated cushions. Just doesn't feel like you're in the gym. And it's almost like too smooth as well. It's hard to explain.
On that note, I used the chest press the other day. Now, I've never used this before, and I was like, I looked at it and I was like, that doesn't look great. But when I did use it, I was like, right, okay, this is actually pretty smooth. It's actually quite nice. So
yeah.
I used to have quite a neck on most things I don't like, but there are a few pieces. This one I like, and I also like this. I've never seen this in any other gym other than Iron Body is the one that I train at. It's a fucking big piece of kit though, like, and it's heavy as fuck. Like if you had a small gym, like you wouldn't want to buy this, because this is only fucking for one use only. But it is it's a lovely piece of kit. This is one other piece that I would recommend if you do have this. I think the owner saw it in Dubai. I think they do it in one of the Olympic gyms. I think, I'm not sure which one. So he decided to buy one. But yeah, this is pretty smooth.
George, where have your legs gone?
Nah.
Honestly, on that note, I put out a story the other week about just any gym sort of brands. People were recommending like Gasp, and I went on the site and I was like, fucking hell, like this is a lot of money, like for a jumper.
Yeah,
it's like
it's expensive.
70-80 £.
However, they sent out a naughty email this week, 50% off pants.
Yeah. Which is why George is rocking that.
This is why
I know. Well, I bought
got like 4 pairs.
well, like,
20 quid they were. 20 quid.
These were 20 quid, and also got these ones as well, which you can't really see, but they're just like the basic sort of black.
Yeah.
black ones. I quite like, I mean, for me, I have to tuck them in because even though these are a small, they still drag on the floor a little bit unless I have to wear really like thick soles.
I wear a small as well. They're proper long, aren't they?
But I don't mind the tucked in sort of tuck in the sock sort of look. I don't mind that. I don't bother me.
I don't know how you pulled with these pants on, because I deadlifted in them. Are they the mesh material or?
Yeah.
And they've like got a little bit of rubber on. So when I was pulling it up, I had like resistance. So I had like resistance to it. I was like, fuck's sake.
I don't. Has anyone got any of the chosen? Is it chosen for you? I see this guy in the background here.
You got quite a few.
What's that?
The chosen few like joggers anyway. They only do like 2 pairs of joggers, and they're not really ones that you wouldn't train anything that you would be using your lower body for, and you wouldn't obviously use them for like deadlifts or anything. I would only ever wear them during like upper body sessions. They're good, but like they're not super baggy. They're baggy, but they're not like gas material baggy. So, but I mean, all their other stuff's like really good. I'm a big fan of like their t-shirts and jumpers.
Yeah, the tops are nice. Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone's listening or watching, I would definitely, because I was debating, I was looking at the gas, I was looking at the website. I mean, yeah, I got those in the sale, but now knowing that the quality is really, really good, and I know they're not just going to fucking fade in one wash, I will 100% willing to pay the prices that they put on their site. So if you do want to,
they churn out sales all the time. All the time. So you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait till the sales. Like, I know Black Friday is a renowned sale, but they had like 50% off. I think it was everything at one stage. So
I would definitely even do what I did: buy something in the sale, see if you like it or not, and then I'll happily spend 60-70 quid on a jumper now. I must admit, I did buy a Hostile. It says, I can't remember what it says now. I think it says Obsession. I thought it cost me about $56. Took a couple of weeks to obviously come over from Canada. I'm guessing that's where they distribute it. And I must admit, like, I'll be totally honest here. I love Fluad. I love the podcast. I think the quality is just a bit meh. Like, I haven't actually worn it yet because I was a little bit like, okay, this is a bit. I've kind of bought it like a souvenir to just show some support rather than
expensive
rocking it in the gym. Sorry, I think Jack bro. Hello, we still here? Hi, Jack. But yeah, I must admit, I did buy it, and I've kind of kept it as a souvenir because I'm not sure if it's something that I have to, like, when you buy like new clothes and you have to like wear them in to make them look, because sometimes you buy a jumper and it's like pointy up here and it's fucking pointy up there. It's like fuck's sake, I don't want to have to wear it in a few times to make it look good. But I don't know if it's just one of those where it's I'll just keep it as a souvenir and then maybe, I don't know, flog it at some point. I don't know, fuck knows. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that because I did.
I've only ever really seen Nathan Diasha wear the Hostile stuff, and I mean, he probably wears like a 5XL and still makes it look tight. So I mean, I've not really seen anybody wearing any other like pieces of their kits. I'm not really sure what it's like, but
so I mean, that's just one piece of clothing. I mean, it might not be for everything. And I must admit, I did get a large. I should have probably got an XL because it fits like, it doesn't fit like an oversized sort of jumper like something like this. This is from Strength Unit, but it sort of fits like a normal sort of and I don't like that with jumpers. I like more of like a big, like it's got room, not stuck to me tight sort of thing. So yeah, maybe I should have known that for next time. Where am I? What's everyone's favorite body part to train?
Back.
I love training back, me.
Depends what we're talking about though. If it's from an ego perspective, chest. Get a chest pump, that top off, your class.
I must admit, yeah. I think I really like.
I do like leg training though.
Yeah, I must admit, leg days. For me, leg days. What ruins it for me, a leg day, if I take too much stims and I kind of go the opposite way where I feel fucking awful, like to the point where I've got a really dry mouth and I'm sitting like out of breath, like having to take some fresh air. When I get to that point, I don't enjoy it. But I do like the oh, it's leg day sort of mentality. Like I'm going to train legs today. I do like that, but just not sometimes how it makes you feel, because it fucks my appetite as well on leg days at the moment. So I'm sitting there thinking for the rest of the day, I'm gonna have to fucking. I'm struggling eating. When it comes to prep, that's no problems at all. I mean, I'll be starving. I know we've been on 4th, but hour and 50, it doesn't matter.
Hour and 50.
You got couple more questions? Yeah. What's your cues for performing an RDL? I've had this a few times, you know, like people asking about RDL setup and cues. So I'm gonna start off with Jack, because I know you'll have a good answer for this. What's your sort of setup?
Well, the main thing you want to consider with the RDL is the movement all has to come from hip flexion and extension. So you don't want to start bringing any knee flexion into it because then it becomes, you see it all the time. People, when they're chasing progression on RDL, it turns into a Dorian all the time. Okay. So yes, you want knee flexion. So you want to have a slight knee bend, but then once you find that knee bend, that angle does not change. So the only thing that you need to do to perform that movement is kick your ass back. So you drive your ass back, and then once you can't push it back anymore, that's you done, because you'll see people will go even deeper again, but their ass won't move at all. So it'll go back, but then they'll find an extra inch or 2 inches range of motion, but their glutes won't move. So all they've done is they've lowered it with their back. So you drive back with your glutes, do hip flexion, and then you start the movement with pushing, which is why the band is a great cue for when you do it. Like, it's not going to bring you anything in terms of more tension. That's been established. But in terms of cueing the movement with an RDL, putting a band around your hips and bringing it against the squat rack, for example, does help, because it guides your hips back and forwards, because then you start the movement with hip flexion back, and then you start with hip extension. So for me, like, the hip movement is the main thing, and the knees, like, obviously you've got loads, like Khifie, you can talk about this now because obviously you're big on deadlifts, but in terms of like sort of back tightness as well, because a lot of people now are chasing load on an RDL, whereas before, in previous years, 10, 15 years ago, it was more of a stretch movement. Whereas now, because people are looking at it as like actually loading it, then you need to start considering all aspects. So even like upper back tightness as well. So I don't know if you want to touch on that, Keith.
Yeah, that's probably like, obviously I don't really have much to add on that from a kind of execution perspective, but at the same time, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that needs to maybe more so be taken into consideration. It's just the loading aspect of it, because it has really got to the point where we're seeing a lot of very, 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 very heavy RDLs, and then they go from being an RDL on the first rep to just maybe being a kind of maybe more so upper back movement, or in something kind of more down that kind of line. So obviously, just again, it comes back to your more so hip flexion over anything else, because I found that as well when I done them in the couple of odd sessions. I was fine at the kind of start, but then as much as I was still completing the set, I wasn't really taking maybe what I wanted to take from it. And like I've already mentioned on the podcast before, I don't get on well with RDLs. Like, I just simply won't. I've tried and tried and tried. Even at that, like, I think we last done that podcast like 3 weeks ago when I'd done RDLs. Not done them since, just because it's just, there's not been really the want to do them, because any time I've done them, I've not really got on that well with them. And I think it's just because I'm very obviously like directly focused more so on maybe my deadlifts, or even I would maybe implement a Dorian throughout prep. And I think that's why, because I'm more so much more used to that kind of knee flexion more than anything else, I allow that to come in throughout an RDL, and there's not really much point in me trying to run them if that's going to happen. But I think from a fatigue standpoint as well, again, it's not really worth it if your like back is taken over too much. Then I wouldn't really run it, personally anyway.
CAITILIN, got anything to add to that?
No, because I'm shit at RDLs. I just Dorian. So I just would never run an RDL personally.
Yeah, for me with RDLs, like, it's just that movement pattern after like 8 reps is where I start breaking down. I can't keep that sort of that sort of continuation of that set. Whereas with a deadlift or a stiff leg, you know, I'm touching the floor, sort of almost allowing myself to reset, because once you drop that weight on RDL, the set's pretty much done. I would say with an RDL, like always start, even with any hip hinge, just start from the floor up. So ensuring that your heels are planted, pushing your heels into the floor is going to engage a little more hamstrings. Actually, I don't know if it was a TikTok or whether someone sent it to me on Instagram, but some woman was demonstrating about, I think I might have saw it on the Form Police, and this woman was explaining, imagine
Don't say it. Sit on a cock.
Yeah. Imagine backing into a
Scottish bird, isn't it?
Yeah, she was like, imagine backing into a cock, and with pushing your hips back. And to be fair, it's true. As much as I don't want to say that, it's true.
Classy.
Yeah, a classy way of doing it. And then ideally, I would always say like sort of mid shin where the depth should be. So anything below that, you'll probably notice that your hips want to drop depending on your mobility, or you start noticing that you're rounding, maybe you're in the thoracic spine sort of area. So I would always say like mid shin is sort of the depth, and then obviously come back up and think about driving your hips through, almost like banging your misses, if you want to call it that. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it there, guys. I think that's been pretty productive.
It's a great last line from you guys.
Yeah. we'll
just imagine you're in doggy. Just imagine you're in doggy, mate.
Just imagine that. So I'm gonna leave people thinking about me now, performing some sexual acts.
They don't need to imagine it, lad. You've demonstrated on your YouTube plenty of times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the bed testing.
Wait, that bed test.
I'm not doing that again. That was when I was like 21, 22. You know, I can't get away with doing that now. 24. I'm 25 this year. I can't be doing that. Fuck's sake. Good fun though. Like always, that's standard procedure. If you go to Airbnb, hotel, you've got to test out the bed. I can't do it. Mine fucking, I fall through it. But yeah, try some bed testing, and if it goes well, then let me know, and you know, I might be able to sort it out.
Is that going to be the word for the end? Bed test.
Bed test. Yeah, comment down below bed test if you watch the whole thing or listen to the whole thing. Yeah, as ever, guys, thanks for coming on as always. I really appreciate it. We'll definitely have a guest on next week, which will be cool. And yeah, these are doing really well. I think the last one got, from what I looked at, was like nearly 1,000 downloads. So it's pretty mad. Whoever's watching or listening, you know, you're very quiet. You're not posting this or
they're not loud, are they?
But as always, I really appreciate it, and it's a good opportunity for us to just chat. And for me, it's like just talking to my friends, you know, just Saturday night right now, talking to my friends. No, I'd rather that than fucking go out. And sometimes though, I must admit, I've got that urge to go out a little bit more now after New Year's. But I do this sort of stuff. I still very much enjoy, and I'd always pick that over going on a night out. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Lots of love, and I shall speak to you in a bit. Bye.